as a kid, you watch cartoons for the pretty colors and the cool effects and stuff, and you don't really have that. You're watching a story being told with themes and messages, and by the time that you're like old and you develop a develop curiosity and intrigue and the want to know something, you already dismiss cartoons because it's for kids. It's for children. Doesn't mean anything. It's out. But those who take the time and effort to look back and rewatch their favorite cartoons, they find a sense of appreciation because they seeing it from a different lens. Because now they're older, they have more experience, they think more. It's just, and their minds are unlocked type of way. And you got that, okay, then that's when you realize that, okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a cartoon, music, a drawing, or whatever the case may be. Anything that comes from a person, anything that comes with intent, it's art, and art always carries a meaning. And I came to this conclusion after rewatching debriefs and explanations and reviews on my favorite show, a show that I grew up watching. Not grew up watching, but it was something that I would watch like religiously. Like I knew that by 5 o'clock, by 3 o'clock, or at night at 9 o'clock, this show was gonna play. It was in, I forgot the channel's name, but I remember the code. It was 305 and 308. This thing was gonna play. And the cartoon I'm talking about is a cartoon that's, when you watch it, you would think that it's inspired by anime. Some people think it's an anime, but it's just a really good cartoon. The cartoon I'm talking about is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I love this show. It's probably my favorite cartoon ever. My favorite form of media to consume. Because one, it's cool, and two, I learned a lot from it. Not learned a lot, but it made me realize certain things about life and stuff. Avatar takes itself seriously because it showcases a lot of things that aren't really shown in cartoons. Like, it shows pain, it shows suffering, it shows the characters growing from that pain and suffering. It shows a lot of adult aspects of life, basically, like responsibility and how it affects a person, and failure and how to handle it as a person. So that's when I realized that this isn't just pretty colors and it isn't just cool effects and its explosions. It's actually a story that has a messages. It follows a boy who's 12 years old who runs away from home because he was told that he's the chosen. He freaks out because of the responsibility of being the one and only person to save the entire world. Because this boy was told that a war is coming. There was a madman who wants to colonize the whole of the world. And since this thing's gonna happen very soon, they told him very early. They were supposed to tell him when he was 16. They told him when he was 12. He freaks out because that's a lot of responsibility. Because being the chosen in Avatar, aka being the Avatar, it's not just okay, you're the chosen one, first of all. Two, you are chosen to save the world. You are chosen to be the bridge between the spirits, and the human world. 3, you have to also be the bridge between people. So you have to understand everyone and be able to connect everybody, basically. That's why he ran away. But while he ran away, there was a storm. He got caught in it. He drowned. But thanks to him being the chosen, he survived for 100 years. During those 100 years, colonization happened. His people were killed. All of them. He was the last person to come from his specific tribe and specific like race and culture and whatever. So the colonizer used the power of he was basically a Super Saiyan, and everyone that was part of his tribe and part of his race was also Super Saiyan. And they had dragons, and they just killed everybody. They just killed everyone with an arrow, everyone who's calm and peaceful, everyone dead. And then they used that power to colonize the rest of the world. 100 years later, he wakes up and they're still colonizing. He meets up with new people and he makes them his friends. His past life tells him about, okay, brah, we have an issue. The thing that made the first colonizer a Super Saiyan and his entire race Super Saiyan, it's coming back, and it's coming back in a few months. And that you, as the savior, you as the chosen one, you have to learn the entire magic system, which usually takes a couple of decades, 3 decades, but he had to do it in 3 to 4 months. They don't give us a specific time period, but I feel like it's 3 to 4 months. So now he goes around the world trying to basically learn the magic system, be a master, and then fight the Super Saiyan colonizer. So as the series goes on and the people that we're following in the story goes around the world, helping people, learning magic, just going through all types of adventures, we get to see how different people are in terms of how there's certain groups of people. There are people from the Fire Nation, there are people from the Water Tribes, and there's people from the Earth Kingdom. There was a 4th nation, but it got. So the Water Tribes, they split into 2. The North Pole and the South Pole. The South Pole looks very rural because colonizers went there and they fucked shit up. And then they left it into a very fucked up situation. The South Pole is very bare in the sense of they don't have a lot of culture. It's just survive and help each other out however they can. It's mostly made up of women because all the men they set sail to fight in the war. So the tribe is mainly like women and children. The North Pole is it looks like a kingdom basically. It acts as a kingdom because there's a hierarchy, there's a king, there's a princess, there's certain traditions that have to be upheld, and they take those traditions and those culture and that culture very seriously. That part is very spiritually inclined because they have a gate to heaven, and they also have 2 spirits that are very important in their basement, which seems very unfair, but that's how life is. The Earth Kingdom is basically like one big mass of sand, mountains, flat plains, and savannas basically. And it has very scattered settlements that we also visit throughout the story. But the important ones are Kyoshi Island, Omashu, and Ba Sing Se. Is that how you say it? I'm not Chinese. I don't know what that thing is. I'm not Asian. I don't know what that is.
A lot of the Earth Kingdom has been colonized in the sense that most of these scattered villages and settlements are colonies of the Fire Nation. And when we visit these colonies, we see how war has an effect on the average person. We got that, okay, it's hard for the people to actually live while they are being like mistreated, they're being discriminated against, and they're even kidnapped, not kidnapped, but they're taken into custody and they're put in jail for just living, for doing things that is just a part of their culture and part of their life, basically. It's like imagine police came to your house and took you away for prying, basically. It's sort of like that, but with magic. And we also get to see how people have lost hope and they lost their faith in that someone will save them and somehow they will be saved at the end of the day. Instead, they just do what they told. They don't fight. They don't try to fight in any type of way. They just try to survive, basically. And we see the Avatar and his friends help these people and giving them hope, just spreading light and good energy throughout the Earth Kingdom, and inspiring people to fight back also. Both of these nations are fighting against the Fire Nation, which is the more technologically advanced nation who thinks that they are superior because they have all this innovation and all this power, basically, and they want to spread it to the rest of the world. Although these nations are facing one specific opponent, they handle it in different ways, and they don't unify to fight this person. Omashu, which is a city in the Earth Kingdom, the king of that place just let the Fire Nation colonize it because he didn't want his people he didn't want unnecessary deaths, basically, from his side. And Ba Sing Se just straight out ignores the war entirely, even though the Fire Nation has engaged with it previously and continues to engage with it now very violently. It decides to ignore it and make it a conspiracy in a sense. A big part of being the Avatar is to master the magic system of the world, which is split into 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth, I think. Mastering the elements isn't just about learning how to fight and learning how to be powerful and shoot lasers out of your eyes. It's basically about you trying to master a martial arts like kickboxing or judo or karate. There's a mindset to the martial arts. There's a specific philosophy that you have to take into consideration in order to master it. It's not just physics. It's not just a physical thing. You have to understand the culture that utilizes the bending principle. Air involves being free. It's about accepting everything that comes and finding a way to react accordingly. Water involves moving with the flow. It involves using your opponent's energy against them, but also at the same time understanding that everything is one motion. Earth is about having a strong foundation so that you're unmovable in a sense and facing things head on, both physically and mentally. Because if you want to move a rock, you have to be strong enough to move the rock and not let it push you down. Fire is about passion and figuring out how to control it and manage it. As the series goes on, we see how there are similarities within the bending principles, but there's also ways to level up those specific elements. For example, for air, if you let go of everything that binds you into this world, your family, your friends, love, your job, you can actually fly. Not fly as in use the air around you to push you up. Nah, as in fly like Superman. For water, it's all about understanding that water exists in many different places. In air, in grass, in trees, in people, in living things, basically. So, as a water bender, you have to understand and have that, okay, even though I don't have water in my cup, I can just bend water out of the air and put it in the cup. For earth bending, we're introduced to metal bending because basically metal comes from earth, from iron ore, and then it becomes metal by being purified and processed. So as an earth bender, you have to be able to, in order to metal bend, you have to feel the impurities within the metal and bend that, basically, instead of bending the actual metal itself. Fire seems to have the most variation because you can, if you're a master fire bender, you can either shoot lightning. You can shoot lightning like Zeus. You can shoot a beam of fucking explosions, basically. I don't know what that thing is. But you can look at something will come out of your forehead and go. You can do that if you're a firebender. And you can also bend lava, like a volcano type thing. The messages and themes in Avatar The Last Airbender are very interesting. But my favorites are how we see fire, how we use knowledge and information, as well as innovation. In terms of fire, the bad guys use fire, basically. It's like everyone else is, no, fuck that. The bad people that we are fighting for, that we supposed to hate, the villains of the story, they use fire. So we see fire as an evil, bad thing because it's used to do evil. It's mostly used to do evil and bad things, basically. It's like a gun. You can say, I have it for protection, but at the end of the day, you're killing someone. So we'll just see it as bad. But a problem we face, like in the middle or at the end of the first season, is that as an avatar, you have to master everything, not just specific ones. So even though we hate the people that use fire, we still have to learn how to use fire. The problem with that is everyone who knows how to use fire, they want to kill this person. They want to kill us. So it's very hard to master an element. It's hard to master something when every single teacher hates you. But we do find a teacher. He tries to teach us a few things, and we end up burning a friend of ours. The boy burns his friend, who's kind of like his crush, and he swears to never learn fire bending ever again, to never fire bend because of the traumatic experience. So while we see fire as a thing that's like deadly and fucked up, and we quickly see how it's alive in the sense that it breathes and it grows and it can't be controlled by any one person. So if you lose control of yourself, of your passion, you will quickly explode as a firebender. But since firebenders draw their power from the sun, we can also see fire as a source of life, a source of energy, a necessary thing that has to be there. Because if it wasn't for the sun, things wouldn't grow and a lot of people would be dead, basically. Or just cold as fuck. Innovation in this story is shown very consistently in the sense that we quickly see the difference between the more innovative technological nation versus the rest of the world. In the sense that the Fire Nation has steam-powered boats, ships, they have catapults, they have drills, big-ass drills. They have, they have tanks, and they have war balloons. While everyone else has like still has spears and still they use sails in their boats. And they don't have anything like technological. For example, the Fire Nation has a train that is powered by coal and steam. The Earth Kingdom uses earth bending in the sense that there are people in the back of the train and they're pushing it. And this made me realize that innovation usually comes when there's a war. Like when there's no war, it's very like the reason why there's a difference in this thing is probably because they were planning to go to war, so they had to do things and make things that are gonna give them the upper hand against the rest of the world. Because when you're colonizing the world, you're basically picking a fight with everyone. So it makes sense why they would plan first and innovate, make the technology so that to put them higher than everybody else. So it kind of makes sense, but it's just a thing that I noticed. We're also introduced to a scientist that is basically the leader of refugees. They find an abandoned place that is very cultural and holy and spiritual, and they demolish it, they re-innovate so that they can fit in it and live in it. This becomes a problem when our savior pulls up and says, "Bruh, you're fucking up my culture, stop." But then we quickly change that perspective because at the end of the day, they're refugees, they don't have anywhere to go. So, and his people aren't around anymore. So it's hard to uphold someone's and respect someone's tradition when there's no one to practice and continue the tradition and the culture. So we would rather have a place where people can stay than respect a place that no one will ever visit. Kind of like a question, would you change a church into a hostel if there were people who stopped going to that church? It's low-key the same thing. In the second season, we're introduced to a library that was made by a spirit that takes knowledge very seriously, and a spirit that values knowledge and information. This spirit hates humans because all humans do is use knowledge to get the upper hand on other humans so that they can kill them more successfully. And the people we are following in this story, they're basically trying to do the same thing. And they justify it with the fact that they are the good people and they need to do this in order to save the world and the people that they love. And the spirit doesn't see the difference. At the end of the day, you are abusing knowledge and you're abusing information to do bad things. From its point of view, knowledge, information, and wisdom is very sacred in a sense that we should be using it as a way to develop ourselves and to be better than our previous people. Because as time goes on, we have more access to more information and more things are being discovered and more things are being made up. So, as time goes on, we have to be able to progress with the times that we exist in and be better and not repeat mistakes by learning from them. Although there are humans who share this view with him and decide to stay in the library until they die, most humans engage in conflict. So he got jaded by that thing and decided to take his library back to the spirit world. For me personally, the Avatar state is the best transformation ever in all of fiction. Because imagine tapping into your genetic buildup in the sense that every life that you've ever lived, ever, from the moment life started till now. Imagine you can able to tap into that information, that knowledge, and use it right now, at this very moment. every problem in your life will be solved, bruh. Because you already lived thousands of lives. So I get as times change, our problems change. But I'm talking about the actual problems of life. Like, have you ever sat down and wondered, "Bah, Ella, what am I supposed to do with my life?" You can just look back and at what you've done and pick from there, bruh. Like, life would be so easy if you could just, man. You would have a complete understanding of who you are. You would have wisdom for days. You would have skills that you didn't even need to learn. You would literally be a master of yourself, like, instantly, bruh. It's insane, bruh. But when you tap into this avatar state, although you're a living bomb, you're also like very vulnerable, because if you die in that state, then the avatar cycle and the reincarnation of life will stop, basically. So there will never be another avatar if you die in the avatar state. But to me, I think that's a fair balance, because even before you learn how to master one element, if you just tap into that thing, you have access to all of that magic. So it would be overpowered if you could just do that without any consequence. Also end if you let bad vibes take you out. So like if you're a very depressed person and you have the avatar state and you get into that avatar state, there's a small possibility that you're just gonna die in jail out of nowhere just from depression. It's insane.